The board meeting's over with, so please get out. Do not walk up on me. Call the police, because we don't have a board meeting.
Tensions erupted at the board meeting when the mayor's patience snapped. The board meeting is over, she shouted, demanding everyone leave. But what happened next was even more shocking. Do not walk up on me, she warned, her voice rising. With the room in chaos, the mayor called for police intervention. This wasn't just a meeting, it turned into a full-blown standoff. What led to this dramatic moment? Stick around to find out the explosive details.
Get out. Y'all can get out. There's no meeting now. So let me say this. There's no quorum.
The tension reached a boiling point when the mayor shouted, "Y'all can get out. It's no meeting now." The room went silent as she snapped, "Let me say this. There is no quorum." Confusion spread like wildfire. What was she really saying? The crowd was left stunned, trying to make sense of her bizarre declaration. Was this the mayor losing control? Or is there something deeper at play? Stay tuned as we break down this wild moment. Thornton Township's latest meeting turned into a battlefield of shouting, accusations, and outright defiance. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, once commanding the room, found herself under fire as officials and residents pushed back against her leadership. Tensions exploded when key figures openly questioned her decisions, exposing fractures within her administration. Voices clashed, security stepped in, and the chaos only grew. With her grip slipping, one question looms. Can she survive this political firestorm, or is this the beginning of her downfall? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let us know where you stand on this unfolding disaster. Hey guys, I am Olivia. Welcome to Red Rumbles, where the drama never stops, and the truth hits harder than a knockout punch. From Hollywood scandals to brutal boxing showdowns, and the most chaotic moments in politics, nothing stays hidden for long. Corruption, controversies, and shocking twists. If it shakes the world, you'll hear about it here. Stay locked in, because every story comes with receipts, and the fallout is just getting started. Don't miss a second. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and drop your thoughts in the comments. The storm is brewing, and Red Rumbles is right in the center of it all. From the moment Mayor Henyard stepped up to speak, the tension in the room was palpable. What started as a regular meeting quickly spiraled out of control, as one trustee after another began publicly criticizing Henyard's leadership. The township officials, many of whom had been allies of Henyard in the past, wasted no time airing grievances and accusing her of undermining the local government. As trustee after trustee voiced their frustration, accusations ranging from poor financial management to authoritarian decision-making began to mount. The meeting quickly turned into an emotional showdown with no resolution in sight. Henyard, trying to hold on to her authority, attempted to dismiss these accusations. But the anger in the room could not be ignored. People were no longer just questioning her. They were demanding accountability. This was more than a simple political disagreement. It was a full-blown revolt against her leadership. Henyard, once so confident in her control, now found herself on the defensive, with no clear way out.
Deep debt, and that is the finding of an investigation of village finances and the spending habits of beleaguered Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Her attempts to regain control only seemed to make things worse as the room became louder, and more residents voiced their opposition. What do you think? Was Henyard's leadership doomed from the start? Or did this chaos ignite something that was always simmering under the surface? Leave a comment with your thoughts. While the tension in the room was already high, the real breaking point came when township officials began to make their dissatisfaction public. Henyard's administration had been under fire for months, but this meeting marked the moment where those who had been silently critical finally took action. The once stalwart supporters of the mayor began openly questioning her decisions. and one trustee even suggested that Henyard's leadership was a direct threat to the well-being of the township. Henyard's opponents weren't shy. One trustee called out her handling of township funds, accusing the mayor of directing money to pet projects without clear justification. Another official raised concerns about Henyard's growing control over decision-making, stating that her administration had become increasingly isolated from the rest of the government. The atmosphere was charged, and the accusations only grew more intense as the meeting wore on. With each new critique, Henyard's ability to defend her leadership seemed to weaken. Her attempts to explain her actions fell on deaf ears. The tone of the meeting shifted dramatically, as what was supposed to be a professional gathering became an intense power struggle. What do you think? Are these officials justified in pushing back against Henyard, or is this simply a coordinated attack? It wasn't just the officials who were fed up. Residents of Thornton Township were also making their voices heard.
Well, for the first time in many weeks, Dalton trustees and Mayor Tiffany Henyard held a public meeting together, but not at Village Hall.
As tensions flared between the mayor and the trustees, the public began to push back against Henyard. Residents, some of whom had remained quiet in the past, began to speak out loudly. They demanded answers about the mayor's decisions, her policies, and the future direction of the township. One resident stood up and boldly called out Henyard, accusing her of ignoring the needs of the community while focusing on personal gain. This accusation sparked even more outrage from others in the crowd, and soon more and more people were standing up, expressing their anger. "You're supposed to work for us, not yourself," one woman shouted from the back of the room, a sentiment echoed by many others. The meeting quickly became a battleground for public opinion, with residents angrily demanding changes and calling for accountability. They weren't simply passive observers. They were active participants in the chaos. The audience had made it clear. They were no longer willing to let Henyard dictate the township's future without scrutiny. Do you agree with the residents, or do you think they're going too far? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Despite the overwhelming pressure surrounding her, Henyard wasn't ready to give up. The mayor, visibly shaken but determined, attempted to regain control of the meeting. She responded to her critics by accusing them of playing political games and undermining her administration. In an attempt to salvage her position, Henyard claimed that she was acting in the best interest of the township. She argued that her leadership had brought progress, and that her critics were simply upset by the changes she had made. She even accused some of the dissenters of trying to weaken the progress they had achieved together. However, Henyard's words seemed to fall flat. The room, filled with both officials and residents, had lost trust in her leadership. Even as she continued to defend her actions, it was clear that her grip on power was slipping. As the attacks continued, it seemed that Henyard's political survival depended on her ability to turn the tide in her favor, an increasingly difficult task. Do you think Henyard has the political skill to turn things around? Or is she in over her head? As the meeting grew more chaotic, it became evident that this was no longer just a heated debate. It had turned into a full-blown crisis. The shouting, the accusations, and the emotional intensity of the moment reached a breaking point when security was called in. At one point, a trustee and a resident nearly came to blows after a particularly heated exchange.
You could feel the anger tonight at a Board of Trustees meeting in Thornton Township. The board and citizens looking for accountability to their finances, while the township supervisor...
The atmosphere had become so volatile that it was impossible to maintain any semblance of order. Security had no choice but to step in and separate individuals who were getting too close for comfort. For the first time in years, the authority of the mayor was being openly challenged in such a public and dramatic way. It was a stark reminder that political leaders are not immune to the consequences of their actions. Henyard was being forced to confront the reality that the opposition to her rule was no longer something she could control with mere words. Do you think security should have intervened sooner? Or was this a necessary step to maintain order? Leave a comment and tell us what you think. As the dust settled and the meeting came to a close, the repercussions of what had happened became clear. Henyard's political future was uncertain, and the fallout from this meeting was just beginning. The questions surrounding her leadership, questions about corruption, power abuse, and mismanagement were not going away. In fact, they were likely to intensify. Officials who had previously supported Henyard began to distance themselves from her. The cracks in her political base were becoming more evident, and her ability to hold on to power was looking increasingly unlikely. But even as her position weakened, Henyard remained defiant, claiming that the meeting had been an attempt to discredit her. The real question now was what would happen next. Would Henyard manage to regain control of her administration? Or would this chaos mark the beginning of the end for her time as mayor? The next few weeks would likely determine the future of Thornton Township. What's your take? Do you think Henyard can weather this storm, or is her reign coming to an end? As Thornton Township grapples with the aftermath of this explosive meeting, it's clear that the political battle isn't over. Henyard may have survived this round, but the questions surrounding her leadership and the growing opposition suggest that the worst may still be ahead. The next chapter in this saga is unfolding right before our eyes, and Red Rumbles will be here to cover every twist and turn. Will Henyard be able to salvage her career, or is she on the verge of losing it all? Stay tuned for more updates and analysis, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on this ongoing political storm. We want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Henyard can overcome this crisis, or is it time for her to step down? Drop your comment below, and let's keep the conversation going.